He says, bro looks terrified. No, just didn't get enough sleep. You know how it is during Ramadan. You know, you fast all day and sometimes your sleeping is just not there. But I tell you what, man, we got an interesting topic that we're going to talk about today, right? And it is regarding Dana White and what he said about being happy while you are broke, okay? So let me reason, right? Now, just recently with, well, a statement that sort of bothers a lot of people for whatever reason, right? Especially people that don't have money. So, and we're going to talk about that. I'm going to give you all my breakdowns and details towards what Dana White was talking about, and also the grand old question of things. Do you really need money to be happy? And in the meantime, before we start the show, what I would like you to do is write in the comment section below and let me know what your humble opinion may be, right? Because I have some opinions on it. I'm going to share it with you once the video and once the streaming starts. But I would like to hear your opinion on this matter, because you matter. And you matter because of the fact that each and every single one of us has different experiences, right? Some of us were born rich, some of us were born poor, and some of us became rich after being born poor, and then some of us were rich all their lives, or some of us were rich at one point and then fell off. Now, the question with that is, where were you at your most happiest during that time? Are you happy with your life right now? Do you wish to have more or less of what you have going on? And also, the grand old question, does having more really mean happiness, or does having less have some sort of significant value to, let's say, less pressure, less responsibilities, less things to worry about? Or is it that the rich folks have more things to worry about, depending on what your particular position in life is? So you let me know on the comment section below, and we're going to start the video really soon. So I just wanted to get in here, kind of give you guys a little bit of some audio before we get started. And so that is the grand old question, right? Do you need money to be happy? And the reason why I'm saying this, I want to preface to you a couple of things that Dana White has mentioned on the internet that is sort of going viral, that is important to talk about. Check this out right here, okay?
Everybody judges by success of money or business accomplishments. The true measure of success is how happy are you? I know some guys that are fucking crazy rich and the most miserable human beings you could ever meet. If you get up every day and you're really happy and you really do enjoy and love your life and you love doing, you're surrounded by people you love doing it with, you could not be more successful. Everybody judges by success of money or business accomplishments. The true measure.
So Dana White said that basically, I would say about maybe, a couple of months ago, right? There's this other video where he mentions, if you're broke, be happy. Okay, sort of easy to say, as a billionaire to say that, right? This is the viral video right here.
Listen, if you're miserable when you're broke, you're gonna be really miserable when you make some money. The key to life is be happy. Be happy. Figure out what you like to do. Get up and do it every day, and be as happy as you can possibly be. Some of the happiest times of my life was when I was broke. Money changes everything. I think about it. Not always. Not always. If you're happy when you're broke, you should be happy when you have some money.
What's the best life advice you've ever received?
Listen, if you're miserable when you're broke, you're gonna be really miserable when you.
Dana White got a lot of flack for saying this, and I wonder why. I wonder why he got a lot of flack for saying this. I think the reason why he got a lot of flack for saying this is because, to be honest with you, a lot of people are jealous of rich people, right? When they look at Dana White, all they see is privilege, right? I sort of talked about this earlier. Listen to this. And I think a lot of you are really going to get a kick out of this particular content that we're going to do today, because quite frankly, I think that it is an important topic to talk about. And the reason for this is that, and just by the way, let's let you guys know, I'm going to have the camera on in just a second, right? I'm just driving around right now, and I don't want anybody to know where I'm driving from. So, you know. Ali Khan, I had to restart the stream, right? Just so, well, let me just say for algorithmic reasons, okay? I had to restart the stream, so here we are. Rather, I just turn the camera off for a bit, but we will be in the studio. We will be in the studio. And here we are. We're in the studio right now, talking about Dana White and why he said what he said. Now, if you guys remember anything about Dana White back in the days, right? One of the things that I remember about Dana White was that he was very poor at some point, right? Not necessarily his background, because from what I understand, Dana White's mother was a registered nurse, for all that's worth, right? I don't know how much nurses make back in the days, but depending on where you are in the United States right now, nurses make pretty good money, okay? So it wasn't like Dana White was absolutely poor, but Dana White did have some of his struggles at some point of his life, and that was before he became the big old boss of the UFC. Also, here's the thing, right? Dana White is a very interesting person, right? Because, well, at the same time, he's also not a very interesting person. And let me explain what I mean by that. Ali Khan says, Dana is privileged, but he is a great problem solver and a bit of luck. Yes, and I do talk about that here. H. Busta says, salam. Walaikum salam to you. Let me know what part of the world you are from, Busta. He is interesting because here's a guy that has a network of people like the Fertitta brothers that helped put him on. And when he got put on, he had a brilliant idea of what he wanted to do with the UFC. As soon as he had that brilliant idea, he ran with that idea. And shout out to the UK. Let me know what part of the UK you are from, my man. Are you from the north, or are you from the south, or are you somewhere in the middle, maybe in Birmingham of some sort? Let me know what part of the UK you are from, my man. I always appreciate all my UK supporters up in here. He says he was good with the promotion at the time to sell the fights. Obviously not. I mean, the man made so much money selling his stake, and the current deal, he has no more motivation. Okay, Midlands. H. Bussa says he is from Midlands. All right, shout out to everybody in the Midlands. I believe that is an essential part of the UK. Ali Khan says, if anything, I would look to change him as the main promoter guy. He does not have the same energy. Yeah, at some point, you become very jaded at the world, right? You become very jaded at your job. The way that I would compare Dana White is, let's say, a rookie police officer and then somebody that is a 10-year veteran as a patrolman, right? You look at those two types of people, a guy that just came from the police academy and then a guy that has been in a job for 10 or 12 years. Their whole entire outlook of the job is going to be different. One is jaded, the other is excited and happy to be there for the first time in their life, right? Being able to carry a gun, being able to arrest people. And then after a while, it becomes a burden because it's like, well, now I got to deal with the S-bags of society and whatnot, right? That's sort of where Dana White is at. Obviously, Dana White is not a cop, but very similar to that same analogy. Became one of the biggest organizations in the world, right? In terms of sports, never mind just combat fighting sports. One of the biggest sports organizations in the world, and that was through the vision of Dana White. Here's the thing, right? A lot of you guys out there, you got brilliant ideas. You got some good ideas of what you want to do in the UFC. A lot of you have brilliant ideas. The difference is you don't have partners like the Fertitta brothers, and that's where all of this makes a difference right here. Some good ideas of what you would like to do if, let's say, you ran a boxing league or an MMA league. You guys have some good ideas. You want to know what the difference is between you and Dana White? Is that you don't have Dana White privilege, okay? Dana White privilege, that is something you don't have. He says, exactly. I don't think this new deal, he likes the grand scheme of things. He does not have the same passion he did maybe a few months ago or a year back. And I would argue he doesn't have the same passion as when the Fertitta brothers were running the UFC. Now imagine being in a company full of strangers when you are in a company of your friends that were the CEO and made you the president of the company. Now you are in the same company with different people and working for different people as a result of that. And Dana White privilege, no racial behind that, obviously. But the reason for that is... yes, H. Busta, Conor Ben Boxer has gone to Dana. And, well, that made him even more money, I would imagine, right? Or at least he's going to at least attempt to make money off of Conor Ben at some point. Well, he knew the Fertitta brothers. He happened to have gone to high school with the Fertitta brothers. So, obviously, Dana White was not a millionaire growing up as a kid, even though he had a mom that may have had a very successful career in what she did. But he was affluent enough to be in the same school with the Fertitta brothers. Okay, and that's important to know. So in other words, he had privilege. He had privilege. He says Dana is desperate. He is desperate to try and get into boxing. I don't think he's desperate. He is already in boxing. Now, the difference is what will he do with it? Now, right now, with the preliminary stages that we have of Dana White and Zuffa Boxing, we only have the Apex fights with Charles Martin, Hefe Ajagba. This weekend, after UFC 326, what do we have? Jai Apataya defending his belt, Cruiserweight Championship against Brendan Glanton, which many people, you know, sort of complained about. But I got to tell you, these types of matchups is what they typically make in boxing, right? I could picture Glanton versus Jai Apataya as a matchroom card, okay? I could picture it as a Frank Warren Queensberry card. But right now, it just happened to be a UFC Zuffa card in boxing with guys dressed as MMA fighters having uniforms. One is wearing black, the other is wearing white, and it just says the same thing, Zuffa Boxing for both of them. That you never had. He had friends that you never had. And anybody that's going to come close to that type of success ever has to have the same amount of friends or the type of friends that he has in order to put those good ideas in a world pedestal. That is the only difference. So we're going to talk about all of that. And this is obviously just a small intro to what we got going on. And what we are going to talk about, just to kind of give you a preview of what it is that we are going to discuss. All right, so obviously that was pre-recorded from earlier, right? A stream that I had to stop so that I could start this one. H. Busta says, well, Tyson Fury, he's in Thailand training. Yes, that is, you know, the obvious reality. Yes, he is in Thailand training right now. I wonder what good will that do him. I mean, obviously, a lot of sun going on in Thailand. I'm sure that somehow brings some sort of, you know, positivity to his life. Also a different environment. Also an environment that may prevent him from the distractions that he may have in the UK. Right, because I thought this is a very important topic to talk about. Oh, H. Busta, who is your coach that Tyson Fury is training with? Now, the reason why I thought this was a very important topic to talk about is because you're going to have a multitude of people have different opinions on this subject and people with different backgrounds and different experiences. For example, I don't know if you guys are familiar with a man named Wes Watson, right? But he's this guy that's a social media influencer, right? Former prisoner, prison stories to the world, and also emphasizes this attitude of being, okay, fair enough. The problem with him is that to him, everything is about money. And one time, he was in this panel where it told him, you know what? For me, it's not about money. All right, well, what is it about for you? He said, it's about being a good father and having happiness and this, that, and the other, right? Well, he said something that was very profound. You want to know what that is? Wes Watson said, you can only say money doesn't matter when you actually have money. And I thought to myself, wow, that opened up a whole different can of worms in my head. And let me tell you why, right? Usually when a person says that they are coping with the fact that, hey, they don't. Yeah, usually when a person says that money doesn't matter, it can mean a multitude of things. Number one, they're broke and they're coping. Or number two, they really do have money, but money really doesn't matter to them because it became to the point where they are so secure with what they have going on that money is not a scarcity for them, right? And it is also a form of resource that never runs out for them depending on what it is that they do or how they make it. But I stand with the fact that there is a certain level of coping that comes with that. They don't have money, so of course they're going to say that, you know, money is not the most important thing in the world. But let's say you're not broke and you're some nobility behind what it is that you're saying. Okay, so more on that in a second. We just touched a home base right now. Probably going to, so I will probably begin this live stream in about the 15-minute mark. But I'm going to begin, and I've already is actually turning on my camera, getting in the. Okay, so here's a couple of things that I want to preface with you guys, right? Before I moved to the house that I'm at right now, right, in a prominent part of town, I will say, I used to live in an apartment complex in the Arden area of Sacramento, okay? I lived in an apartment, I lived near the hood, and then on top of that, in that hood, not only was it a Crip neighborhood, it was also a neighborhood that had a lot of Afghan, Syrian, and Iraqi refugees, especially Iraqi refugees dating back as, like, let's say 2012 or 2011. There was a lot of Iraqi refugees there. And in that setting, I had a mosque that was down the street from me, walking distance, and I had a gym down the street from me, walking distance, a fitness gym. Not only that, what is this? H. Busta says, that shit's still going on with the Crips and Bloods. Yes, it is. I think that you haven't been watching my channel for a while. I talk about that extensively in here. You know, it's actually, well, welcome to the channel, my man. Okay, you're going to get really acquainted with, you know, the reality of America right now. And I know that this is something that many people in the England may not know or understand about. But yes, this is a reality over here, right? But not to digress off the topic, in that same area, there was a gym, a fitness gym, and not only a fitness gym, a Muay Thai gym that I won this trophy out of, okay? That is an IKF state title trophy that I had won back in 2010. I won it in that same Muay Thai gym, and it was down the street from me. It was in the hood. And again, like I said, the mosque was down the street from me, walking distance. Everything was simple. Okay, everything was very simple. And as a result of that, I felt like I didn't have the same responsibilities that I do now. I didn't have the same amount of, well, let's just say that you get charged with taxes when you make a certain amount, right? That's just how it goes. When you have a certain amount of money going on, they're just going to charge you even more taxes. Well, back then, I got tax returns because that's what happens when you are, you know, in that particular part of your life, right? And here's the thing. It was a place where one of my kids were born, so there's a lot of special memories there. It was a place that me and my family, you know, had lived in. When I mean family, I mean immediate family. I don't mean family like my mom or my dad or anything like that. I mean like immediate family, right? But I don't talk much about my private life And if you're a Muslim, you know exactly why and why I don't do that. But rest assured, you know, I live a pretty traditional Muslim life, right? You know, family with kids and things of that nature, right? Well, it was the very beginning of my life, and everything felt simple. And then we moved into the suburbs, and things got a little bit more complicated, and it always does when you come up on some money, and that's the reality of the situation. The broker says, quick question. If you threw a salamander into a bucket of grubs, what do you think? I don't know. What kind of question is that? You know, I don't understand the basis of that question. I'm just going to ignore that and let you answer that on your own. Okay? Unless, of course, you can further elaborate what you mean by that. I'm going to read to you a post that a friend of mine wrote, right? And here's the thing, right? I don't want to mention this guy's name, but I feel like he's one of those guys that sort of copes at the reality of the fact that he's kind of, well, I wouldn't say broke, but, you know, a bit of in a struggling position, all right? That's the most humble way of putting it, right? Every time we talk about certain things, right, it always goes back to, oh, well, you know, all you care about is money or this and that because, you know, you're broke or, you know, it always goes back to, look, let me read to you, let me read to you what he wrote here to kind of give you context here, right? Let's see here. All right, this is what he said, and I quote, I love that I'm happy enough with who I am that I don't need money or things or people to feel complete, worthy, or enough. Okay? That my value is who the F I am. Okay? Whatever that means. Whether I have it or not in any regard, I retain my value even without the clothes on my back. I love that if I met someone on a corner, an alley, a park, or a coffee shop, and we spoke for even 5 minutes, when I walk away, that person isn't going to know. They're going to feel it in their very pit of their soul with every ounce of their being, no matter who they are, what they have, or who they know. They can't buy what the F I'm selling anywhere. I don't know what he means by that. Who I am is unique and rare and authentic to the core. Can't be taught, can't be bought. You either got it or you don't. And I love that most about it is, in spite of the pressure and conformity of the world around me, I did that. So in other words, this is a way of him coping that he's broke. Jason Bender says, Shalom, USA, Wisconsin. I'm Jewish, and I have been taught to respect Muslim religion. We had some pretty excellent people play basketball when I coached and that were Muslim. Okay, well, shout out to you, Jason Bender. And, you know, shalom to you, our fellow resident Jewish brother. You know, obviously, I think that is something that we need in this world today. Just being able to have this type of, you know, discourse and talk and communication. Because, look, I'm not the biggest Charlie Kirk fan when he was alive. I'm not going to lie. But, you know, I became very interested in, you know, in him when, let's say, you know, he died, and I made a live stream about him. It was actually my best live stream till this date. And, yeah, man, he said something that was profound, though, that I thought was really interesting. He said, the minute we stop talking to each other, okay, is the minute that violence erupts, and I kind of understand what he means by that. Victory says Kyrie is great at basketball. I don't know about, you know, great. I mean, I could hold my own in the court. I don't know about great per se, you know. Great is not exactly how I would describe my basketball game, but, you know, I'm sure with enough practice, I would probably be able to improve. You know, on top of that, I got a little bit of black rhythm in me. So, you know, I'm probably, you know, going to be good at like doing crossovers, you know, shook and jives type of things. And yeah, he said, you should get him on the team. You're talking about me getting him on his basketball team? Man, I mean, look, yeah, I don't know about all that, you know. Yeah, we'll just keep it at that. But okay, so I think it's important to kind of understand, right, that yes, there are people out there who kind of cope with the idea that, hey, you know what, I don't have money, but because of that, I'm going to, just say that money doesn't matter. All right? Well, that's not really the case. And then there's this whole culture of this red pill culture that Andrew Tate is sort of pushing as to tell you that, hey, you know what? You need to be rich. You need to be the top G. You need to have all this and that. And the problem is, here's a reality. Not everybody is going to be rich. Okay, and even the Islamic aspect of how this is looked at will vouch for that idea. And let me explain what I mean by that. You see, the Islamic way of thinking is as it follows, right? There's a reason why we have rich people, and there's a reason why we have poor people. What Allah is trying to teach us with those mechanisms is you need each other. You need the poor, but you also need the rich. So therefore, there has to be these two dynamics going on at the same time, right? In other words, not everybody can be rich. Somebody has to be poor. Why? Because when you are poor, obviously, there are people that need to do the retail jobs. There are people that need to do construction jobs. There are people that need to do labor jobs, right? Not everybody can be the boss in the office. And so we all need each other. But if you're the boss in the office, you can't operate without the laborers. And if you're the laborer, well, you can't operate without the boss because he's the one that is running the whole entire operation. He's the one that is providing you with your salary. So not everybody can be a top G. But I think I understand what these guys are talking about. I get it. I understand what Andrew Tate is trying to convey. I think the one thing that Andrew Tate is trying to convey is to say that, hey, you know what? I'm not talking to everybody. And I think he should just preface it exactly like that, right? He should preface it as the idea that, hey, you know what? I'm not talking to everybody. Not everybody is going to be rich. And as a result of, not everybody not being rich, that is just what we have to deal with, right? You have to understand that Allah made the poor and made the rich for a reason so that we need each other, okay? For the same reason why Allah created the food chain. Why do we have a food chain? We have a food chain because we need to eat beef, we need to eat chicken, and the chicken and beef are here for us to use. And I know that sounds quite exploitive, but without laborers, you can't be a boss, okay? And without soldiers, you can't be a general. Without conductors, there are no trains. I think you guys understand what I'm saying with this, right? Without planes, the pilots have nothing to fly on. You understand what I'm saying? So that is the reason why, we have rich and we have poor people. But at the same time, if you're Andrew Tate and you're telling everybody that they have to be the top G, they have to be this, that, and the other, you really have to preface the idea that, hey, look, not everyone is a boss, and this conversation is not for everyone. And I've had plenty of times where I've had to have these conversations in the workplace, right? I'll give you an example, right? You see, the way that I would talk to somebody that would be in an HR position or somebody that's in an executive position is different than how I would have talked to somebody in, let's say, the ground level position or the entry level position. It's a completely different conversation. The same thing in the military. The officers have a completely different conversation with the generals, whereas with the generals have a different conversation with the enlistees. And let me explain what I mean by that. When you are the officer in the military, one of the requirements is that you got to have a college degree. Number two, the other one is that you get a college degree, you get a different set of training. You got a whole different set of training, right? They train you differently. The officers get a different training than that of the enlistee. But here's the thing. Do you know who trains the officers? It is the enlistees, the high-ranking enlistees. Okay? Not the officers. Officers are not training future officers. they are training. They are training. What do you call it? Future officers. Enlistee guys are training future officers. And if you want an indication of this, what was that movie with Richard Gere? I believe Officer and a Gentleman, right? I think that was the movie Officer and a Gentleman by Richard Gere. Okay, so let me read to you the preface of what this is, right? The Officer and a Gentleman is a romantic drama film, which, by the way, is just absolutely cringe to me, right? I hate when they make military movies into, like, romance novels and things like that. I hate it. I absolutely hate it, right? I'll get to your comments in a second. Let me cook here for a second, but keep continuing with the comments. I will respond to you, okay? So Officer and a Gentleman, okay, tells a story of Zach Mayo, okay, played by Richard Gere, okay, a United States Navy aviation officer candidate who is beginning his training at the aviation officer candidate school, okay, while Zach meets his first true girlfriend. Good Lord, this is so cringe. I hate that part, but this is an example that I have to preface to you guys, right? During his training, okay, a young townie named Paula Winger, he also comes into conflict with a hard-driving Marine Corps gunnery sergeant, Emily Foley, which is played by Louis Gossa Jr., I believe. Yeah, Louis Gossa Jr., okay, in his training class. So the preface that I'm trying to make there is that a gunnery sergeant, let me explain to you what a gunnery sergeant is. It is not an enlistee, okay? It is within the ranks of enlistee. So let me show you what I mean, right? If you're an enlistee, right here, this is the most ranks that you get, okay? You can go from E1 all the way to E9, and then some sort of specialty, right? That is the ceiling that you have as you know, as an enlistee. But if you're an officer, then you start out as, you know, a second lieutenant, then you become a lieutenant, and then so on and so forth as you move up into your career, right? So, yes, that's the preface that I'm trying to make. Everyone needs someone. Not everybody can be a boss. Somebody has to be the subordinate. Somebody has to, take the butt end of, you know, the responsibilities as a boss, and then somebody has to take the butt end responsibility as the laborer or as the enlistee. So, okay, let me read these comments right here. Abdul Rahim, shout out to you, Abdul Rahim. He says, hi, everyone. Blessings and greetings. How are you? And also, how is your family? Thank you very much, man. They are very good. He says, you know everything about UFC, boxing, and society. We come with nothing and go with nothing. Pray and help each other. Thank you. Yes. Yes, that is the perfect words right there by Abdul Rahim. Shout out to you, my man. Are you from the UK as well, I reckon? Are you from the UK, bruv? Let me know if you're from the UK, bruv, and let me know what ends you represent, yeah? You know what section you represent up in the ends, yeah? All right, so Victory says, did you guys drink when you were on base over there? You know what? It's an interesting question that you asked that, right? One of the things that the recruiters told me was that when you're underage, there is one place that you can drink, which is the base, right? But, you know, obviously, yeah. So just, you know, a little preface there. Yes, if you are a Marine in, let's say, you know, a United States military base, you're allowed to drink there because guess what? If you are overseas, let's say you're in the Philippines, let's say you're in Subic or Okinawa, Japan, or places like that, obviously you are allowed to drink because those countries have a much younger age range of what you are allowed to drink under. So, you know, there's a lot going on with that as well. So yeah, you know, just to kind of, you know, give you information on that. Abdul Rahim says, Ramadan Kareem, how is your fasting going for you? Very good, man. Very good. You know what? Here in the West Coast, in California, our sunup and sundown is only 12 hours, right? Whereas if, let's say, you were fasting in Europe or in the Norwegian parts of the world or places where it's dark for a very long time, it's a little bit different. So, you know, I'm very thankful. It's 12 hours. It's not that long. I fast longer than this outside of Ramadan. So yeah, just so you understand that one right there. Okay, so yeah, man. So what do you guys think about what Dana White had said here, right? Uh, because obviously that is the reason. That is a reason why we sort of wanted to have this topic at hand, is because a lot of people gave Dana White flack for this comment. So we will begin the show in just a minute, because Dana White came out just recently with well, a statement that sort of bothers a lot of people for whatever reason, right? Especially people that don't have money. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to give you all my breakdowns and details towards what Dana White was talking about, and also the grand old question of things. Do you really need money to be happy? And in the meantime, before we start the show, what I would like you to do is write in the comment section below and let me know what your humble opinion may be, right? Because I have some opinions on it. I'm going to share it with you once the video and once the streaming starts. But I would like to hear your opinion on this matter, because you matter. And you matter because of the fact that each and every single one of us has different experiences, right? Some of us were born rich, some of us were born poor, and some of us became rich after being born poor, and then some of us were rich all their lives, or some of us were rich at one point and then fell off. Now, the question with that is, where were you at your most happiest during that time? Are you happy with your life right now? Do you wish to have more or less of what you have going on? And also, the grand old question, does having more really mean happiness, or does having less have some sort of significant value to, let's say, less pressure, less responsibilities, less things to worry about? Or is it that the rich folks have more things to worry about, depending on what your particular position in life is? So you let me know on the comment section below, and we're going to start the video really soon. So I just wanted to get in here, kind of give you guys a little bit of some audio before we get started. And I think a lot of you are really going to get a kick out of this particular content that we're going to do today, because quite frankly, I think that it is an important topic to talk about. And the reason for this is that, and just by the way, let's let you guys know, I'm going to have the camera on in just a second, right? I'm just driving around right now, and I don't want anybody to know where I'm driving from. So, rather I just turn the camera off for a bit. But we will be in the studio. We will be in the studio talking about this, and we will discuss exactly what is going on with Dana White and why. And here we are. He said what he said. Now, if you guys remember anything about Dana White back in the days, right? One of the things that I remember about Dana White was that he was very poor at some point, right? Not necessarily his background, because from what I understand, Dana White's mother was a registered nurse, for all that's worth, right? I don't know how much nurses make back in the days, but depending on where you are in the United States right now, nurses make pretty good money, okay? So it wasn't like Dana White was absolutely poor, but Dana White did have some of his struggles at some point of his life, and that was before he became the big old boss of the UFC. Also, here's the thing, right? Dana White is a very interesting person, right? Because, well, at the same time, he's also not a very interesting person. And let me explain what I mean by that. He is interesting because here's a guy that has a network of people like the Fertitta brothers that helped put him on. And when he got put on, he had a brilliant idea of what he wanted to do with the UFC. A As soon as he had that brilliant idea, he ran with that idea and became one of the biggest organizations in the world, right? In terms of sports, never mind just combat fighting sports. One of the biggest sports organizations in the world, and that was through the vision of Dana White. Here's the thing, right? A lot of you guys out there, you got brilliant ideas. You got some good ideas of what you want to do in the UFC. But you don't have friends like the Fertitta brothers, okay? And that goes into the conversation of privilege, right? Now, I want to preface something about that too, right? A lot of people love to lecture you about how they got put on or how they became rich. I did it this way, and you can do it too. That's a very dishonest conversation. I'm going to be honest with you. It's a very dishonest conversation. It is. All these Arab guys that I know in the car business, okay? All these guys in a car business, a lot of them got into car business because they had help from family. And by the way, that also includes myself, okay? I'm not exempt from that. I didn't come into the car business out of nowhere, you know, based on my own money or based on, you know, what I had going on. It was a combination of help. It was a combination of smart people being around me. And it was a combination of inheritance. That's really all there is to it, right? When you are put and placed in the right position, my goodness, man, you can absolutely go far and further than most people. And a lot of people don't want to tell you that. That also goes into the world of fighting. I remember one of my first Muay Thai coaches, right? AK from Muay Thai Lao. Shout outs to AK from Muay Thai Lao in, you know, Sacramento right here, right? I asked him, hey, what are some things that helps fighters get to the next level? This was me at a very young age. This was me very ambitious in wanting to be a fighter, wanting to compete, wanting to be the best Muay Thai fighter, and then transitioning into MMA and whooping butt, right? He said, you got to have the right amount of help. Okay, he mentions BJ Penn. BJ Penn had the right amount of help. Well, speaking of BJ Penn, how is it that BJ Penn became a black belt in 3 years? Which, by the way, goes into Mr. Moneyberg, right? A lot of people were surprised. How is it that Mr. Moneyberg became a black belt in a couple of years? Well, it's really not that far-fetched. If you have a black belt that lives with you, that's friends with you, that lives down the street from you, and also a black belt that you facilitate, they can easily train with you for a long period of time. And here's the thing. It's not like Moneyberg, let's say, was not giving Jake Shields some problems, you know, during the time that they trained, okay? But you also have to understand, BJJ is not only a professional sport, it is also a hobbyist sport. And what do I mean by that? You can be a hobbyist and get ranked in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Yes, ranked. I don't mean ranked in the ADCC or submission grappling or, you know, or name any grappling organizations, right? I don't mean ranked in that. I mean ranked within your belt, okay? You can get ranked as a hobbyist. You cannot get ranked as a hobbyist wrestler. In fact, there is no such thing as a hobbyist wrestler because you're either wrestling to compete or you're wrestling just to roll around with other guys, or maybe you're just doing it because you're training your son, and as a result, you probably came from a competitive background as well. The same thing with judo. You're not a hobbyist in judo. You're either training for judo or you're training to help somebody train to get ready for the Olympics. And I swear to you, I've trained judo out here in the Sacramento Judo Club as well. That is exactly what they do, okay? They train for the simple fact of competition, not to be a hobbyist. But in jiu-jitsu, you can be a hobbyist. Victory says BJ proved his skills, though. He did. He did. But the reason why I'm bringing it up, this is not a jiu-jitsu conversation per se, or merits, or the meritocracy in Brazilian jiu-jitsu gyms. This is rather a conversation of advantages and disadvantages that each person has. And it just so happens that BJ Penn has had a lot of advantages as a BJJ player because he didn't have to work. His parents were rich. He wanted to not only be a hobbyist, he wanted to be a full-time jiu-jitsu player, became the first black belt, American black belt, to win a world title in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and that is indicative of the fact that he had all the time in the world to train. And here's another thing you guys have to know, right? Brazilian jiu-jitsu, all throughout Brazil, is what you would call a playboy sport. And let me explain to you what that slang means in in Portuguese Brazilian slang, right? Playboy means preppy boy, okay? So don't mix up playboy with Hugh Hefner or, some guy that is highly promiscuous or a guy that has a lot of women. No, that's not what I mean by playboy. In the context of Brazilian Portuguese, playboy means preppy boy. All right, let me tell you where I learned this word. During the fight of Anderson Silva and Damian Maia in 2010. While Anderson Silva was playing around with Damian Maia, he was calling him a playboy. What does he mean by that? Well, playboy because guess what? Guess what style Damian Maia comes from? Can anybody tell me what style Damian Maia comes from in the chat? I think you guys know, right? We don't need to, play, into it. But for just the algorithm's sake, just write it on the, comment section below, right? He is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter. Now, why did I mention that and why am I mentioning playboy? Because you need to have certain advantages to play jiu-jitsu, to compete in jiu-jitsu, to train in jiu-jitsu. You want to know why? Because it's expensive. You want to know how expensive a gi is? $200 for the top, $200 for the bottom. And that's for really good gis, right? Especially if you want a nice blue gi, or a nice black gi, or a nice red gi, to look like Ken Masters from Street Fighter, right? If you really want a nice gi, that's what you pay for. So, with that in mind, it's a very expensive sport. It's a preppy boy sport, okay? It is a preppy boy sport to where what you pay for it is literally what you pay for people that are horse jockeys or people that are hockey players. And what is hockey in the first place? Hockey is a white-dominated sport. Yes, we have other minorities in there too, but let's be honest, okay? It's a white majority sport because it's the sport where the haves and the have-nots, and it just so happens that the white boys, happen to be able to afford all the gear that they need, and that is indicative of the Mighty Ducks movie. You look at the Mighty Ducks 1, right? If you guys watched the Mighty Ducks back in the days. Obviously, Gordon, the lawyer, was told that he was going to coach hockey in order to perform his community service task, right? That was what he needed to do. He needed to go and perform community service. So if you look at his team, the majority of the people in his team were minorities, okay? Let's just be honest about that. And then meanwhile, their rivals, the Hawks, the former team that Gordon Bombay played by Emilio Estevez, they were mostly rich white boys who could afford all the gears in the world. And if you remember one of the synopsis of the beginning of the Mighty Ducks, well, it was some issues there with buying gear, okay, until Gordon Bombay decided to cough up his lawyer money and, and help out his team. Or I think it was Mr. Ducksworth, his boss that he worked for in the firm. But that's what I'm saying, right? BJJ, just like hockey, okay, is a preppy boy sport. Polo is a preppy boy sport. By the way, I went to a high school in Old Bridge, New Jersey, where they had a lacrosse team. They had a lacrosse team, I didn't play lacrosse, obviously, but we had a lacrosse team. That's how preppy boy my high school was. And people are so dumbfounded by this when, they find out that, I've been involved in gang culture in California, because they're like, wait, didn't you go to a school, with white boys that, that played, lacrosse? Yeah. You know, that is why Marty calls me the race whisperer, for crying out loud, okay? Because, you know, I've lived in these realities. These are just, you know, true realities that I've lived. But the bottom line is, these are preppy boy sports, and advantages help you. Money helps you. Okay, it does. And that's really what it comes down to. So BJ Penn, he goes in there and competes for the World Pan Am Championships as an American, right? Americans never won this before. Why? Because it was fairly new. Not many Americans were practicing it the way that, you know, you name it, you know, a very good, you know, what's a good American jiu-jitsu player that's good right now? Mike Musumeci, right? There was none of those guys back in the days because, number one, it was a very expensive sport to get into, okay, was and always will be, and even now, even more expensive. So guess what? In Brazil, same thing. It's expensive, but it's heavily available. So the pool of people that are champions and former champions are going to vary within different classes, socio-status classes in that country, because of the fact that, well, they have different opportunities, they have different ways of entering into the sport, and they have multiple ways, not just people that live in the rich part of town. And look, here's the thing, right? I believe it was Renzo Gracie. He told a story that back in the days, a lot of the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys would go to the beach and pick a fight with, let's say, you know, random locals that live near the beach, because, you know, remember, the favelas were up in the hills, and then when, you know, the favela guys would go down to the beach, they would go down there, and then these preppy boys would go down there and start a fight with them because they knew jiu-jitsu, right? This is the reality of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It is a sport that requires you to have a little bit of money to compete and to, you know, be really good at. Now, look, here's the thing. Wrestling, even though I think wrestling is a far more superior sport than that of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right? It's superior, at least if you know Jiu-Jitsu, but you know what I mean, right? It's superior in a sense of, you know, point taking. But the thing is, what did Cole Olds here said? Turkey. Shout out to Des Bauer. I believe you are from Turkey. Shout out to you, my man. Cole Old says, remember when Machida was briefly the 205 champ and everyone thought karate was going to be the top martial arts in the UFC? Yes, it's just a matter of style, my man. You know, a matter of style in the fact that, hey, you know what? He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy, and being that he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy, I'm sorry, a karate guy, it was a style that not many people had really seen before or knew how they were going to, you know, get around, you know, dealing with something like that. So you have some good ideas of what you would like to do if, let's say, you ran a boxing league or an MMA league. You guys have some good ideas. So here's another thing I want you to know about Dana White, right? Obviously, Dana White, he had some great ideas, okay, in terms of the Ultimate Fighter, in terms of the production of the UFC, right? Just making it very plain, right? Very, very Sigma in the personality of, you know, what he has going on. And then this guy says, you stay dumb, you live. I don't understand. I'm not even a lib. But anyways, you're gone from out of here. You are put to the Shadow Realm. Boosted. So guess what, Boosted? You just got boosted up out of here with your Dodge Neon car that Connor Siller BJJ dissed you on the other day, right? He basically called you a bum. Like, imagine you coming in here, right, trying to judge me for whatever low-hanging fruit that you think you could find out of me, right? And then you get called a bum by some Irish guy who lives in San Diego because you drive a Dodge. So there you go, right? I mean, hey, listen, I get it, man. You know, not everybody had the same privileges or advantages. So, you know, you were just born with, you know, a Dodge Neon that your daddy, you know, got you. And how about that? I'm dissing you right now. I'm making fun of you. I'm destroying you. while you can't even say anything about it, because guess what? This is my platform. I tell you what, why don't you go make another account, come back so that I can diss you again. He says, dashboard lit up like a Christmas tree. And let me bring the rundown on that. You don't have $5,000 in your bank account. You got your check engine lights on, dashboard lit up like a Christmas tree. You got underlying health issues that you can't deal with because you can't afford insurance. And then on top of that, you got debt high up to the ceiling and you hate me for it. So therefore you have to come in here and dish out all your frustrations of your daily struggles in life, now just to feel better about yourself. He said, debt pilled up to the ceiling. There it is. Your debt is right up here, and you feel the need to come and attack me just to feel better about yourself. Do you feel better about yourself now? All right. Out of the conversation for you, now let's talk about Dana White, right? Dana White is a person that has all the advantages in the world. He says, I never understood karate in a sport. It was developed to go up against swords and spears barehanded. It wasn't intended for a point system or TKO, etc. It was made to kill ASAP. Okay, very interesting. He says, I'm really pissed off that some algorithm brings me back here, so remove me or I will course you every time. I will course you every time. What exactly are you going to course me with, you ignorant idiot who just came in here with a spelling error? And maybe not a spelling error. I mean, you have very bad grammar. Maybe you should go back to school, right? Maybe you should learn how to use a computer. And then on top of that, you want to come in here and say what it is that you need to say to feel better about yourself because you don't have $5,000 in your bank account. You got your check engine lights on, lighting up like a Christmas tree. You got debt high up to the ceiling. You got underlying health issues to which you can't do anything about because you don't have health insurance in America. You don't have health insurance in America. How do you feel? How do you feel that every moment of your life you have to worry about the minute that you have underlying health issues, the minute that you flatten your tire, that now you can't come back to the internet and talk smack to me anymore? Life is hard, man. Life is hard. Even harder for you. And that is primarily the conversation that we are talking about. Now, Dana White has great ideas. You probably have great ideas as well. You just don't know the Fertitta brothers. And that is the problem. Toothbud says, unfortunately, karate is just a money grab nowadays. Yes. And I trained Kempo for 10 years. I trained Shuten Kempo. I think you mean Shuto Kempo, maybe, with a little bit of a spelling error there, perhaps. But yes, I understand what you mean, Toothbuds. Yes. You want to know what the difference is between you and Dana White? Oh, Shaolin Kempo. Gotcha. Okay, gotcha. Is that you don't have Dana White privilege, okay? And Dana White privilege, no racial behind that, obviously. No racial, Dana White privilege. Shout outs to Tony Ferguson, who first came out with that term. But the reason for that is, well, he knew the Fertitta brothers. He happened to have gone to high school with the Fertitta brothers. So, obviously, Dana White was not a millionaire growing up as a kid, even though he had a mom that may have had a very successful career in what she did. But he was affluent enough to be in the same school with the Fertitta brothers. Okay, and that's important to know. So in other words, he had privilege. He had privilege that you never had. He had friends that you never had. And anybody that's going to come close to that type of success ever has to have the same amount of friends or the type of friends that he has in order to put those good ideas in a world pedestal. That is the only difference. So we're going to talk about all of that. And this is obviously just a small intro to what we got going on and what we are going to talk about, just to kind of give you a preview of what it is that we are going to discuss, right? Because I thought this is a very important topic to talk about. The reason why I thought this was a very important topic to talk about is because you're going to have a multitude of people have different opinions on this subject and people with different backgrounds and different experiences. For example, I don't know if you guys are familiar with a man named Wes Watson, right? But he's this guy that's a social media influencer, right? Former prisoner, prison stories to the world, and also emphasizes this attitude of being, okay, fair enough. The problem with him is that to him, everything is about money. And one time he was in this panel where it told him, you know what? For me, it's not about money. All right, well, what is it about for you? He said, it's about being a good father and having happiness and this, that, and the other, right? Well, he said something that was very profound. You want to know what that is? Wes Watson said, you can only say money doesn't matter when you actually have money. And I thought to myself, wow, that opened up a whole different can of worms in my head. And let me tell you why, right? Usually when a person says that
become rich, become wealthy, but I just think it's all beside the point, ultimately. You're trying to go for a single thing, and it's to achieve something greater
You have
than
money.
the person.
Does he have money?
No.
Do you have money?
No, I don't have.
How much money do you have?
I don't
Does he
have
have
money. But here's the thing. Why is money valuable?
How much do you have money?
What is money valuable for?
I'm just asking. Do you have money?
I just said no. I'm broke. I'm a nobody.
No, but really, you are?
Yeah.
Is he really broke?
Yeah.
I just want to know. I have to know.
No, I'm not. I'm not one of these rich guys. I don't have a Bugatti. I don't have a Lambo.
I just really have to know. Like, how much money you got?
Probably $5 in my pocket. Not much more.
Can anyone answer for the guy?
Why do they think I'm kidding? I have a family. I take care of an entire family. That takes a lot of money.
He's doing all right.
Okay,
It's okay.
This is the thing, you guys. If you ain't fit, you can't say it's not all about being in good shape.
Why not?
If you don't have money, you can't say it's not all about money.
Yeah, why
But
not?
if he does have money, he can say that.
Why not? Why can't you say it? Why must you have the thing before you hang on, let me ask the question.
Because hypothetical is hypocritical.
Let me ask the question.
Hypothetical is hypocritical.
I didn't even know what I was going to say.
You know what, man? Listen, as much as I hate Wes Watson, right? And by the way, one of the reasons why I hate Wes Watson, let's just say, let's be honest. The guy, runs with, Packer Woods when he was in prison, right? So, there's one, right? But the other one is just, a whole multitude of things. I just think that his, idea of masculinity, and then on top of the fact that he, says that, MMA fighters are squares or whatever, I'm like, do you not realize there's some real gangsters in the world of MMA? You know what I mean? There's some guys that really come from gangs. There are people that really come from hoods. There are people that really come from mafia organizations all across MMA. And for him to say that MMA fighters are squares, I think is, and even if they are squares, man, they would beat his ass, man. Mike Musumeci would beat, Wes Watson's ass. Peyton Talbot would beat his ass. You know what I mean? So it's like, it doesn't even have to be the most gangsterous dudes in MMA that would beat his ass. But anyways, even with that, I agree with him, right? Because he says hypothetical is, hypocritical. I agree. I wholeheartedly agree, weirdly enough. And the reason why I agree with that is because, well, look, here's what I got to say about that, right? Think of it like this, right? I think that it's not about being tough or knowing how to fight, okay? That's the God honest truth. I don't think it's really about being tough or knowing how to fight. You want to know why? Because I know how to fight. So it's easy for me to say that, and, I can say that. It's not about knowing how to fight, but I know how to fight. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I know there are other guys out there who don't know how to fight, but know how to do things way better than me. There are guys out there that know how to, fix cars better than me. There are guys out there that know how to, do X, Y, and Z. There are better guys out there that know how to cook better than me, right? So, of course, it's not about fighting for me. It's not about being the toughest guy, right? Even though, I put myself in situations to prove I'm the toughest guy, right? Entering in martial arts competitions, getting into street fights, getting into street confrontations, knowing that I have the upper hand over the other guy because I'm trained and the other guy isn't. So, of course, it's easy for me to say that. So I get what he means when he says, you know what, it's not the only way that you can say that it's not about money is when you don't have is when you actually have it. But when you don't have it, he's saying that you don't have the right to say that. But at the same time, by the way, she wasn't a white lady, Victory. Okay, she was not a white lady. You know what? I think you knew that. I think okay, I get it now. You're being sarcastic. Oh man, okay. You know, I have to like turn off a little bit of my autistic mind, you know, in terms of being literal, because you know I'm looking at that and I'm like looking at it in extreme frustration. Like that was not a white lady, and yeah, man. Well, okay. Let's not go there because then it gets into all these other subjects. Yeah, he says it's hard to tell over text. Right, Tooth Buds. If you were there during the time when, yes, you know how I am. LOL. Got it. Yes. You know what? I got flack for that last time when I played that video. Right, I showed that video, and you know, and I played that, and I got flack for it. Because they were saying, oh, well, this is a woman that you're talking to or this and that. I'm like, my boy, you don't understand. I'm going to be very careful about how I say this, right? You don't understand the minority community in Sacramento. Let me just say that, okay? You don't know who these people know, and you don't know if these people know people that, you know, can do certain things, and that's really what it is. He says, my favorite part was the code switching. Yeah. I was here when someone was talking about it. Okay. Yeah, they were talking about it. And, oh, what did Mr. Good Citizen here say? Shout out to you. He says, the UFC should part ways with Dana White. He's hurting the league now more than he's helping. Yeah, maybe. You know what? He's highly unenthusiastic about it, right? That's, you know, the best way to put it. Definitely highly unenthusiastic about his you know, his UFC career right now as the boss. So, you know, once again, I think it just comes with the territory of him being, you know, absolutely jaded at you know, at being in the UFC. And yeah, man, I just think that he's really had it. Yeah, I think he's burnt out. That's what I think, right? I think he's burnt out. And then on top of that, look, here's what I say, right? Do TKO boxing, do slap fighting, but give the position to somebody else. And I got the perfect candidate who can replace Dana White. You want to know who it is? Drum roll, please. And the replacement for Dana White is 50 Cent. Yes, you heard it right. 50 Cent should be the guy to replace Dana White as the president of the UFC, right? 50 Cent is respected by many fighters. A lot of fighters walk out to his song. He understands the fight business. He's had experience as a promoter, you know, in the boxing world. And here's the thing. You're probably wondering, well, he was a promoter in the boxing world. Didn't he ruin Gamboa's boxing career? Yes, that is precisely the reason why he needs to be the president of the UFC. Because guess what? He's not going to give you any easy fights, just like he didn't give any easy fights for Yorkis Gamboa. He said, you know what? Here it is. Here's a guy that's going to be in my G-Unit boxing stable. You're an Olympic champion. Go fight like an Olympic champion. I'm going to give you the hard fights. Okay? That is my case for why I think 50 Cent should be the president of the UFC. And if you disagree, you let me know. But we're going to do a little bit of a rundown for UFC 326. If you want to check out my prediction of UFC 326, I have my live stream that I did a couple of days ago where I gave you full predictions on that card. It is right here, 4 days ago that I already did it right here. Check this out. 326 Max Holloway versus Oliveira preview. And I also not only do a preview, I also talk about the history of the BMF card. And as a result of that, oh yes, what you said, how I feel about Tom Aspinall and Eddie Hearn. I'm going to get to that in a second. So I also talk about the history of the BMF card. And not only that, the BMF title, not the BMF card, but the BMF cards that came with that, and also the history of Max Holloway and Charles Oliveira, and also gave you a full prediction, all in a 2-hour live stream. Go check that out from 4 days ago. Okay, but Yes, let me get to your question about it's hard to tell with Dana. He's great at his job. If he cared a little more, but it would be a huge benefit. But in fact, he doesn't care anymore, and that's what's hurting the UFC. Okay, Tooth Buds says Chael Sonnen would be a good candidate for that. I would say so. He would be a good candidate. You know what? Yes, I think we can toss it up with 50 Cent and Chael Sonnen as as two candidates. In fact, they can kind of compete for it or have a voting process, right, or a polling process. Who do you want to be president of UFC? And the two top candidates would be for me is 50 Cent and Chael Sonnen. The only difference now is you decide whether you want Chael Sonnen as vice president or president, because the loser gets to be vice president, because I think that the UFC needs a vice president. I think maybe that's Hunter Campbell's position, but yes. Now, to answer your question, right? He says, yeah, I was here when someone was talking ish about it. Yes, the sauna situation. Toothbud says, how do you feel about Tom Aspinall teaming up with Eddie Hearn? Well, isn't it quite obvious the reason why Eddie Hearn is sort of taking this position, right? The reason why Eddie Hearn is taking this position is quite simple. It is absolutely to spite Dana White. There is no doubt about it. He is here to spite Dana White, and as a result of spiting Dana White, he is going to, well, use it as a way to leverage whatever he can against the UFC. I mean, it's pretty clear and simple that is what is going on, right? All right, so now let's get to the UFC 326 rundown real quick. Obviously, we got Max Holloway on top of the card, and then we got Caio Borralho and Ranier DR in the co-main event. Rob Font versus Raul Rojas. Drew Dover versus Michael Johnson, a 50-50 fight. Rodriguez versus Bruno Ferreira. Sort of gatekeeper versus guy that is, yes, he says he already did that, in my opinion. What do you mean? I see why Eddie Hearn did it, but why did Tom do it? Seems like it might hurt his career. Okay, so yeah, Victory says he already hurt his career. Victory says you can tell by the way Dana has talked about the whole situation. All right, so, all right, and then you got Cody Garbrandt, my boy Cody Garbrandt, in the card. And then you got Cody Brundage taking on Dante Johnson, Ricky Turquoise taking on Alberto Montez, Cody Durden taking on Nabajrul, a guy whose last name is very hard to pronounce, harder than how to pronounce my name, although my name seems, a lot easier than that if you come to think of it. Sue versus Jesus Aguilar, Tobias versus Dayar, Gaston Bolonis taking on Lee Jong-yong, Luke Fernandez taking on Rodolfo Balajo. And that right there is the full card for UFC. Toothbud says, like to Tom, what benefit does he see? Managers should be friends with the promoters to get the good deals. Correct. And that is the reason why Eddie Hearn has decided to take this position, because now, if you want to deal with Tom Aspinall, you got to deal with Eddie Hearn. And then on top of that, there's also suspicion. I think there's reasonable suspicion as to say that, hey, you know what? Maybe these guys are just playing all of us for a fool. Did you ever think about that? Like, think about that, right? There's an aspect where these guys are probably playing us for a fool due to the fact that, hey, they know that the fans are going to eat this up. And as they eat it up, they know that it's going to cause drama and this, that, and the other. All right, guys, listen. I got a little bonus situation going on for you right now. I'm going to train right now. I'm going to do some boxing right now with you guys. Usually I would do, MMA training, right in front of you guys, do, a little bit of everything, kicks, punches, ground and pounds or this and that. But it is Ramadan, so I'm going to go a little bit easy with the training. So I'm probably just going to do a little bit of boxing, just, kind of work on the hands a little bit, and then we'll go from there. So, shout out to everybody around the world. We're going into the bonus stream right now. He says, let the trolls let the troll see what you're about. Let the you mean let the troll see what you're about, I think is what you mean. Okay. Okay, indeed. Indeed, man. Indeed. You know how it is. Every time I get in here and train, there's always trolls in here. But you know what? What's good about this is at least, by the very least, hey, you know what? At least, at least you'll get some algorithm going here. So, well, Tom is probably looking for a big paycheck. Yeah, sorry, I'm walking and typing. Got it, got it. No problem, man. Yeah, no problem. And keep in mind, I am fasting still for Ramadan. So, you know, just to kind of give you guys a little bit of a heads up on this one right here. You know, I'm going to train with some Chuck Taylors on. Yes, put on my Chuck Taylors, do a little boxing with some Chuck Taylors, and yeah. All right, here we go. It says, let's see that Prince Nassim footwork. Oh, you got it, man.
Okay. What time is it? 2:30, okay.
Sam Solik, who's that? Drizzy Goat, you're a hater. Straight up hater, bro. All right, I gotta head out soon. One more. Oh, no music, please. It's Ramadan. Yes, yes. Who is this guy you're talking about? Sam Solik or whatever his name is. What happened to him and why did that happen to him? Let me know on the comment section below. What was all that about? Yeah, Drizzy Goat, you don't know what you're talking about, bro. You don't know what you're talking about. You know, it's guys like you. It's guys like you that love to look for, you know, any low-hanging fruit you can hang on, right? Because you're so pathetic. You don't train. You don't do anything. And here's another thing. You don't know anything about boxing, okay? One of the fundamentals of boxing is changing the tempo of your speed. So sometimes you got to go slow and then mix it up with fast, right? But I guarantee you I'm way faster than you ever will be. Way faster than you ever will be, way more athletic than you ever will be. And I'm doing this while I'm fasting for Ramadan. So there it is. You know, you're an idiot that doesn't know anything about boxing. You just love to feel better about yourself. That is the problem with a lot of y'all. A lot of y'all just say things to feel better about yourself. Well, do you feel better about yourself now that you expose yourself as an idiot who sounds like he doesn't know anything about boxing? Do you even understand the tempo of boxing? Do you? You don't understand the tempo of boxing. You don't understand the fundamentals of boxing. And therefore, you just come in here to talk smack, to feel better about yourself. You know, and you're another one. You're another one of these, you know, anonymous guys. You know what I mean? Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why I respect Marty Miller in comparison to a lot of you. A lot of you are just a bunch of anonymous, no names, idiots that don't want to put yourselves out there. You know, you come up with these weird names talking about my name is Drizzy Goat, this and that. A play off to Drake, by the way, which kind of tells you a lot about yourself. You know what I mean? You're playing off of Drake's name just to feel better about yourself, just to feel like a winner, right? Regardless of all the things that Kendrick Lamar says about Drake, Drake is a winner. You're not. That is the reason why, you know, he named himself after Drake, because you want to feel like a winner, right? You want to see me, you know, while I'm training, by the way, in my most vulnerable state of fasting for Ramadan, talking about slow and this and that, but yet you don't understand the tempo of boxing. You know, how dumb and low IQ do you have to be, right? And then you name yourself Drizzy Goat just so you can feel like you're a winner. And again, regardless of what Kendrick Lamar says about Drake, by the end of the day, you're naming yourself after Drake because you want to feel like a winner. You want to feel like, hey, you know what? If I just, you know, have no pictures, no nothing like that going on in my profile, I figured, hey, you know what? I could be a winner too. I could be just like Drake and be a winner too. Well, how does it feel? Huh? How does it feel? Do you feel like a winner now? Huh? Do you feel like a winner? Do you feel like a winner? Do you? Answer me. Answer me, you punk ass bitch. Answer me. Huh? Do you feel like a winner? I'll bet you don't. I'll bet you don't. Pathetic, sorry excuse for a human being you are. An absolute pathetic, sorry excuse for a human being. But there it is, man. There it is. All right. I think we're back right here. Okay, so what did my man here say? Odin says, you know, the less you care, the happier you will be. I think that is okay. So that is in context to what he was talking about with what do you call it? This comment right here. He says the only thing depressing about knowing the future and how the world ends is that absolutely nobody cares beyond their love for idiocracy. Okay. Let's see here. Victory says, I don't understand the RIP thing. LOL. People always do that with Joe Rogan. Yeah, because, you know, people in the internet are idiots, right? Joe Rogan is a very popular name. He's a name that you can always catch on the algorithm, right? So he's always going to be up there. He's going to be a big name. And on top of that, people are idiots. So whenever they say, oh, RIP Joe Rogan, it is like as a way for them to, you know, sort of, you know, create this, I don't know, like friction in the internet of some sort. Abdul Rahim says, no music, it's Ramadan, please. He says, you're better than Muhammad Ali. Wow, okay, that's very, wow, all right. That's a serious thing to say. I don't know about all that. He says, would keep fighting. Victory says, that's very good. Pretty much I agree with everything you said. I think the poke was definitely significant, but he could have continued fighting, and the vast majority of fighters fight for the title. Okay, so he's talking about Tom Aspinall. Okay, Toothbud says, but I don't know, I can blame a guy. It's a fight champ. It's a champ fight, and having to deal with an eye poke is very unfair. I think they need to punish a whole lot more. Yeah, look, nobody actually really means to poke their eye, right? If you think about it, if you intentionally poke someone's eye, I mean, wouldn't you just like kind of connect a punch on them, right? Isn't that, you know, kind of better? He says, I don't know, he was losing a fight, but not by much. We all know that you can't judge a fight off of the first round. He says that I think that you can't judge a fight off of the first round. I think you could have continued the fight, though choose to stop because he was at a disadvantage. He says, then again, I read online that this is a super rare condition that usually doesn't need a surgery, like he might be jumping the gun too early on it. Okay, perhaps maybe a cosmetic surgery. Toothbud says, it's hard to tell. I don't like accusing people of lying about their medical condition, and he's doing a serious surgery for what it seems like a lot to do with if he's faking it. Okay. Victory says, yes. Do you think you just used it as an excuse to, because the fight wasn't going well and he was over-exaggerated, he over-exaggerated the whole thing since? Perhaps, right? He says, what part, like if Tom was playing it up for what? Okay. So how did you feel about the whole eye poke thing? He says, I don't know. Tom is thinking, yeah, it can't get any worse. I can see that. He might be thinking he's already screwed up, so it might as well go all in. I don't know, just in, yeah, I believe that is in reference to Eddie Hearn managing him. Yeah, man, that's a big move for Eddie Hearn to do that, man. You know, going in there and managing Tom Aspinall, obviously it's a power move. It's a move to purposely try and gain influence. He says, it seems like a big FU to your boss. Yes. He says, let's see the Prince Nassim footwork. Okay, so we got to that. Okay. All right, guys. So, yeah, man, I think that is all that I have for this one right now, guys. You know, I wanted to get in here. Talk about now, you know, a thing that is going on viral in the internet. We got to talk about all these different things that are going on in the world of combat sports, and I got to do a little training on the side. So, guys, listen, that is all that I have for this one right now. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you in the next one, inshallah.